Everybody, thanks for watching. Just a quick reminder to Merkabah Scholar Society members, make sure you guys check your emails. We had the meeting today, so there was a Merkabah Scholar Society meeting on YouTube. So that link went out to only Merkabah Scholar Society members. So check your emails. You have that link. You can still go back and watch that video if you missed it. Also check your emails. You got the download link for the first meeting, and you also got the link to basically fill out the information that's going to be needed to go forward with Merkabah Scholar Society. So make sure you guys are checking your emails, checking your spam. Also, Merkabah Scholar Society membership is still available. Links are in the description. This is phase 2. It's going to be done this week, and then phase 3 is the final phase. So make sure you get in now at this price. Never pay again, members. Check your emails. I sent you guys out email link. That was the final email invitation. If you didn't take advantage, that will be done. So make sure you guys check your emails and take advantage of all that. We got into books. We got into Merkabah Scholar Society, all the information and everything in the last live. Make sure you guys check out that video. It's a lot coming up. I have a lot going on. People who still haven't logged in trouble with Merkabah Academy, I have taken it upon myself to basically fix the problem. I'm making good progress. WordPress is helping, but they're taking forever. I can't wait for them. So again, the remedy has been to reset your password or clear your browser cache, restart your computer. It worked for some people. If it's not working, just stand by. We're still working on that issue. Also, for Merkabah Scholar Society members, make sure you guys register. The link is in the description. And follow those instructions in the email. You should be good to go. But we had a good meeting. A lot of information we got into. We talked about our manual. We talked about a lot of stuff. I'm trying to cover all bases of social media to get out the message until we get into SMS. So then you guys will just get text messages. But I want to cover all bases to get out information to Merkabah Scholar Society members so you guys don't miss anything. I sent out emails to everybody. So if you didn't get an email, they're not sending emails out immediately to everybody. So I've been hearing people been getting my email a day, 2 days, 3 days later. But rest assured, the email has been sent out to all members. If you signed up, you got the NDA. So make sure you sign that. You got the welcome email, and you got the other email. Everybody got information. I sent out to everybody. If for whatever reason you didn't get it, make sure you just wait till like Tuesday and check your email, check your spam, and then send me an email if you don't receive anything after Tuesday. But yeah, for people who are still trying to get in, Merkabah Scholar Society, I know a lot of people try to get in, and just unfortunately, it's just a number that I have in mind, and not everybody's going to get in. There's only certain people I'm going to let in. But make sure you guys get in this second phase. Third phase is going to be the last phase, and then you're going to have to be voted in. It's a lot of benefits to being here. As I said, I'm going to make sure everybody leaves every single meeting with more knowledge than they came in with, and is headed towards success. We got a lot to get into. We got a lot of good information we got into in the last couple meetings, a couple of lives. So I appreciate everybody with the emails, a lot of questions. I'm only going to really talk about what I talk about in these videos. I know you guys got questions, but we're going to get into that once you guys join and it's accepted to join. Other than that, I want to talk about too much on here. But it's cool. I appreciate everybody that's a member. We got a lot to look forward to, a lot to do. But I want to keep getting into these rundown videos because I'm going to be ending off a lot of these series. It's a bunch of new videos coming up for Merkabah Never Pay Again members for Merkabah Academy. Ending off, I got a bunch of videos coming in the Biblical Bible series to finish out the Old Testament. Then we'll get into the New Testament. A lot of new videos coming up that's going to be ending off some of these series. So make sure you guys checking out the rundowns. It's a lot of benefits to grabbing this stuff. I really appreciate everybody who's been watching. You guys are going to need this information. I don't think you realize how serious and important this information is. And it's just unfortunate that a lot of people they're not going to come into that kind of knowledge to realize what's going on here and what I've been doing for the last few years, over a decade now. But a lot of people have caught on. A lot of people starting to understand and get the message. It's one of the reasons for the society to get people who are serious, who understand what's going on into the society. Because moving forward, I only want to put my energy, my time and effort into helping those people and cultivating and pointing these people in the correct direction for a lot of different reasons, man. It's just a lot that's getting ready to come up, a lot that's happening. And if you in the know, you in the know. I've been a trends forecaster for years. I pay attention to trends. I follow the world. I traveled the world for a reason. It's a lot I've been doing. Again, as I said before, the promo video I put out for Merkabah Scholar Society wasn't to brag. It was to show you guys what I've been doing with my life, how much traveling I've done. I've been all over the world. My success is there. It will always be there. And I want you guys to be more successful than me. So when you come into Merkabah Scholar Society, that's one of the things we're going to be headed towards, is to helping you guys implement a lot of new ways of becoming successful. It's a lot. So again, my success speaks for itself. If you know me and follow me, you've seen all that success. So stuff I said before, I just want people to know it wasn't a flex. I wasn't trying to brag, but I want people to. I'm not that type of person. I want people to really understand. I want you guys to really understand how important this information is to get and to really accept. But people are starting to get it, and people are starting to realize so many people have sent out emails with questions. A lot of people really want to be into Merkabah Scholar Society and appreciate what's happening now and what's going on. Again, as I said, it's a lot of professionals who want this type of society, and that's what I'm catering towards, because these guys are really going to give you a lot of insight and help you guys out a lot with a lot of things. I told you guys, I showed you I was in Cali through the weekend. A lot of success there, man. I talked about the stocks and using AI with stocks. We're going to get into all that. So it's a lot to get into. So let's get into this rundown. Let's get into this video. Thanks to everybody who came out and supported. Make sure you guys, again, phase 2. Got one more phase to get in. Make sure you guys take advantage of the sale. The links is in the description. Take advantage. Let's get into this video.
You understand history. One of the reasons why I put out these ancient history series, so you can understand what's happening, what's taking place, and how they're trying to cover up actual history and try to make things fit and make sense. This is one of those books where they're trying to do this. And if you understand history as we've been talking about it, you'll get it. And when we get into Job, you'll see, they're not really keeping up with the story. They'll deviate. And, we left off with Nehemiah and, what's befalling the Jews. But really, when we pick up in Psalms, it's really going to be getting into, King David, 2 Kings. That's really the story, because for some reason, we'll see what everything that happened with Nehemiah. When we start getting into the Psalms, they're more talking about King David when it opens up, because this is the parts we really need to understand. Not so much the story, but the people and, the Easter eggs that they talk about in that story. But when we pick up in Job, when we get over there to Job, when we get to Psalms, we'll dig more into Kings, more so than Nehemiah. And, we'll get into the reason for that, because we're going to have to come back to these books later in this whole thing. But with Esther, it's them trying to fix something that we're going to address in Psalms. And when we go through those histories and talk about this stuff, you're going to see, why they have to put this in there to try to make sense, because we got into the Babylonian exile. And Esther takes place about 100 years after this exile. So now this whole thing is about, you have a 2-day Jewish holiday called Purim. This is a real Jewish holiday that they still celebrate to this day. Esther is the reason why. So we have an actual holiday for Jews. And we know they get most of this stuff from the Bible, of course, so shouldn't be shocked. But this story is what's behind it. So story goes. And what they're trying to do is try to explain a huge problem. It's a huge flaw in their storytelling. And the only way to explain it is with a story like this. Because one of the things you will have to explain, as I talked about before, there's no way these Hebrews could be going out, battling, killing, doing what they have done, and not come in contact with the Greeks or the Persians. And especially since we're talking about traveling back and forth, the way they've been traveling, them being scattered as well. Because remember, around this time, Persians are conquering, and they're pretty brutal, and they're slaughtering everything and everybody. So how is it that these, Jews are able to survive in pockets, right? So Esther takes place within a city that's ruled by a Persian king. And you have Mordecai, who is the uncle of Esther. Now, the king of Persia is a drunken partier who likes to have a bunch of fun, and he's throwing a big party. And I'm going to run through the story real quick because we're not going to spend that much time in Esther. But he's having a big party, and he basically tells his wife to go and show off her beauty. She refuses to do so. So he basically makes a decree that, hey, Persian men are going to be the lords of their household, and women should basically obey them. And then after this, he does like a beauty pageant for, his new wife, to find a new wife. So Esther and her uncle, they're Jews. So you have Persian, you have the Jews, which we know this is a problem. So she hides the fact that she's a Jew, and she enters the pageant and she wins and marries the king, right? So her uncle is basically, poking around, and he overhears two guards plotting to kill the king. So he goes and tells Esther, she tells the king, basically save the king's life, and he basically, promotes the guy and give him a position and just helps her uncle out and thanks him, for saving his life, basically. The two men are hanged. Now, after this, you have Haman. Haman is promoted by the king, the Persian king. Haman is like supposed to be this huge deal, and everybody's supposed to kneel before him whenever they see him or what have you. Kind of like a salute in an officer situation. But Mordecai, when he sees him, he doesn't do anything, kind of give him a dirty face. And, Haman is upset. He's not having that. But he finds out that, Mordecai's a Jew. So what he does, because his family, his, grandfather, what have you, they are the enemies of the Jews. So he basically tricks the king and talks to the king, get him drunk and talk him into killing all the Jews, right? So they basically pick a day. And to pick this day, he basically rolls a dice called the Pearl. And he rolls the dice to pick the day. So they have the day mapped out to where, they're going to kill the Jews or what have you. So he makes this decree that Jews are going to die. And of course, they can't allow this to happen. So they're trying to figure out what can they do. So, wife basically holds a little meeting between her husband and Haman, tells him that, hey, we're going to have this banquet, that you guys got to come to, this other party you guys got to come to, and, talk about some stuff. So on the way out, Haman leaves and he runs into Mordecai again, and he's pissed off at Mordecai because he still won't salute him or bow to him. So the king basically goes to sleep. He can't sleep. He's having bad dreams. Basically calls in somebody to interpret his dreams and to read back the royal decrees. And he sees that, oh, wait a minute, this dude saved my life. I can't, kill the Jews because one, I'm alive because of one. So Mordecai basically comes in to see the king later and say, hey, we got to kill these Jews. We got to kill Mordecai. He got to go. And the king says, nope, we're not going to kill Mordecai. In fact, we're going to praise him. And you're going to go around and tell everybody of the good deed that he did saving the king's life. So he's got to parade Mordecai on a horse around through the town and praise him to the people that, hey, this dude saved the king. So they do have this banquet, the second banquet that Esther invites them back to. And she basically, lays it all on the king. Hey, I'm actually a Jew. This dude tricked you into killing the Jews. But because of the decree, he can't rescind the royal decree. So he creates like a counter decree, to basically fix the problem. And he tells the Jews to defend yourself. So to basically defend themselves against anybody that tries to kill them or anybody that's plotting to kill them. So the first day they defend themselves. The second day, anybody who tried to kill them or is plotting to kill them, they'll go out and wipe them out. And the Jews are successful. They go and kill Haman's family and everybody like that. And then they basically celebrate, what happened, that they're saved and they were able to fight and save themselves because of the Persian king. Mordecai is basically elevated to, second in command next to the king. And then they create this Jewish holiday called Purim, which is named after the dice Pur that, Haman threw to decide what day they was going to die. So understand, that's the story. But we understand clear as day why that's here is to explain, one, how in the world they were able to survive the Persian Empire all that time. Remember, the Persians come in and conquer the Egyptian Empire. Israel was part of the Egyptian Empire. If these people were there or anywhere near there, scattered, what have you, they would have been wiped out. So this is how they try to inject this thing into history and try to make an excuse as to, well, wait a minute. During this time, second in command of Persia was one of our guys. So that's why the Persians, spared us because the second in command was one of our dudes. That's how we're going to make up for this whole thing. And then it just gets your mind to wondering, maybe this was possible, could have possibly happened. And the story seems feasible because today they still actually, celebrate this holiday. So it is up to the reader or anybody to really look at the story. First of all, God is another thing. God does not appear at all in the story. So, nothing about God in the story. It's clearly a story put in there to try to fix up, like almost an afterthought. Oh, wait a minute. We got to fix this problem. Let's throw this story in there. And I suspect this happened throughout the Bible, where we have these little interludes, which we're going to see with Job and Psalms, how that goes, where they're injecting these stories. Now, Esther is the last part of the histories. So, we have the law, we have the histories, and then we're getting into now, unfortunately, the poems, as we'll talk about in Job coming up. But it's there to fix a problem that they knew was going to be a problem. And for anybody who don't know history or, don't understand what's happening, what the stuff's about, it's plausible. It makes you think, like, this is a possibility. This could have happened. But clearly, the story is there to try to fix the Persian problem. So, believe it or not. But yeah, let's get into Job. We know where we left off in Kings, which is really where the story ends off. We got into Nehemiah and Esther, and kind of sort of goes away from the story of the Israelites and basically what we're getting into here. But a lot of people don't understand. So getting into Job. With Job, which a lot of people don't realize, Job is not an Israelite. And you got to understand what they're trying to do here. Job is not an Israelite. He's not a Hebrew. So they're getting into a part of the Bible to where it's persuasion. It's like, okay, we fed you all these books of laws and history and bullshit, basically. So now we're trying to get you into a separate understanding that's going to confuse you more and help you to accept our stories. So with Job is not even really, you can get into the story and read. It's a lot of Easter eggs in there, too many to get into. But the overall point of Job, when you read, is to really get you to understand that, shit is going to happen in life and you're going to question it. And since they know they have promised you something that they cannot deliver on, and I always say, if you promise something that you can't deliver on, or if you offer a reward or a prize in a contest that you don't want nobody to win, you make the rules of that contest impossible, to follow. You make them impossible to achieve. And that is what's happening with the Bible. And when you understand that, you're promised all these things and you're told you can get these things if you are perfect. But then there's confusion because they tell you if you pray, you can get these things. But then you're dealing with the guilt of everyday life and living and surviving or what have you. And you're not living right by what the Bible says is correct before God. So you figure, well, that's not the reason I'm not getting what I'm supposed to get. So, how do you, deal with all this? How do you make sense? And that's what Job is about, to get you into an understanding that you can be following God and stuff can go wrong in your life. And there's a reason behind it. But if you stay true to God, you will be okay. But deeper stuff to Job. One of the points, again, is this dude is not a Hebrew. So remember, you have, sons of God or the angels or what have you, basically having a meeting with God, and Satan shows up. And it's like, okay, here's this contest, basically. So God is boasting to Satan, consider my servant Job. Now understand what's happening here. Again, this is not a Hebrew. So what are they trying to say to you? That you don't have to be a Hebrew. You don't have to be one of God's chosen people to have favor with God. You just have to be a person that is following God. So that completely confuses everybody when you start to look at the story this way, because it's like, the Hebrews are the chosen one. What is so important about Job that Job, when you read Job, he understands about prayer. He understands about God. This guy is not a Hebrew. So how is it that Job has decided that he understands the God of Israel and praying to the God of Israel and doing everything correctly? And is getting blessed by God, but he's not a Hebrew. But the Hebrews are going out and killing all these people who are not Hebrews, who are not following or worshiping God, but they're also not Hebrews. So now you have this whole thing where people are looking at it and saying, well, wait a minute, I cannot be a Hebrew because remember, you're trying to get everybody to accept this, but I can't, I don't have to be a Hebrew or a Jew if I'm following God and his commandments, and I can still be blessed by God. Now, this story takes place in Uz, or however you want to pronounce it, UZ, which is not in Israel, and they don't really give any historical context as to where this whole thing is supposed to take place. And again, this is not a Hebrew; he's not an Israelite. And the story goes, and God basically say, "Consider Job my servant," and Satan is like, "Well, this dude is only basically worshiping you because look at him. He got everything. He got wife and bunch of cattle and friends and family and so on and so forth. You basically made his life good. Of course, he's going to praise you." So, the little wager is on and Satan goes down there and start killing shit and killing cattle and the people coming back one at a time to Job like, hey, cattle died. Hey, this happened and, stuff fell down on your oxes and on your sheep and what have you. And then lastly, the house falls down and his family that's eating, and he's just left with his wife who basically is condemning him like, dude, you wrong. Something happened. You did something. God doesn't like you anymore or what have you. So he's trying to figure out what's going on, but he's still giving praise to God. And then, as more stuff happened, because Satan's last thing he does is he comes down and he gives Job all these boils because, he goes to God and God's like, see, I told you, still going to be cool. But yeah, let me risk his life because anybody would do anything to save their life or say anything to save their life. So all these oozing boils all over his body and what have you, Satan puts on him. And then that's the last we see of Satan in the book of Job. He basically exits. And then like whatever point he was trying to make with Satan and God, you don't really understand the point, which is getting you to understand. And it has nothing to do with that. This is about you. And it's trying to tell you something. Of course, we're going to look at it and say, well, why would God try to impress the devil or have any type of bet with the devil, for anybody that's praising him? It doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense. But the story is to you, the reader, to really understand. But then he has 3 friends that come. And the 3 friends also not Hebrews. So it's Eliphaz, Bildad, and Zophar, I believe, the Temanite, the Shuhite, and the Naamanite. Which you would think is, from the tribes, but not. But they have that funny name. But these guys come and they basically telling him, hey, you did something wrong or you sinned against God. And they're giving him all these reasons why they believe this is happening to him. And he's like, whatever, walks off, forget you guys. You don't know what you're talking about. So, this happens and Job is basically pissed and he starts to curse God and, say God is a bully and all this and that. And then his 3 friends are, who are you to basically, you're wrong to talk against God. And who are you to say something against God and so on and so forth. So they go on to basically talk to you, the reader, when they're saying, he's talking to Job in the book, but it's basically to you, saying that God punishes the bad, rewards the good, and so on and so forth. So this is to get you into the whole thing that, okay, if I do good, if I do what I'm supposed to do and follow the commandments and follow God, things are going to be good. But, possibly this whole thing happened, for you to read it to discern. Maybe this whole thing happened to God, happened to Job because God was trying to, prove a point or to test him. And that's the main thing of God is going to test you. And you hear that a lot from preachers. So again, this story is to you. And it's one of these things where you can get really caught up in the book of Job, but the overall thing is speaking to you and to get you sucked into the faith. This is a theme for this section of the Bible, as you'll see as we go on. This is the theme for this section. So it's really getting into, I said the prayers, the praises, the songs, or what have you. And all this is to really get you more entrenched into the whole Bible story and glory of God with these stories. As we talked about with the Esther story and Nehemiah, you see what happened there. So these are just separate stories to just really bring you in more, and kind of like an interlude into the main story if you look at it from a play sort of view. So enters Elihu the Buzite, who is also not an Israelite, who is basically talking to Job and saying, well, yeah, you could be right about some things, but you have no right to basically curse God and to say this and that. And, Job is like, okay, well, look at what's happening to me. And, I've done this. And he just, whole list of things he's done, how much he's praised God. Now, God eventually responds to Job and, basically catches him out and says to him, well, were you there when I created, heavens and earth? Were you there when I created the animals? Were you there? Basically giving him a quick rundown of all the stuff he's done. Who are you to question me? Can you tame Leviathan? Can you go near these beasts that I've been there and created? You would basically call them gods if you was near them instead of cursing me. You wouldn't curse Leviathan or you wouldn't curse these beasts, but you would curse me, God, who has given you so much, so on and so forth, which is all stuff to get you out of your rational mind and thinking, well, wait a minute, I've done what I'm supposed to do. Like, I don't understand why I'm doing what I'm supposed to do and you do this to me for whatever reason. And again, for you to look at it and not question, amazingly bad shit is going to happen in your life to where you're going to question God. And this is to get through the whole point that none of this shit is true. If you're going to have a contest where you don't want nobody to win, as I said, you have to make the rules impossible to follow. This is real life. This Bible is impossible to follow. You can't live your life by that. And they know this. They understand the rules are impossible. So shit is going to happen to you in life. People are going to die. You're going to get hurt. You're going to be praising God and going to the church and everything like that and stuff. It's not going to work out. And that's what this story is, to get you into the whole thing that, no matter how much praise you give or how good you are before God, and if God is even bragging about you, something can happen or God can tempt you or test you. And then you're supposed to be strong through, your faith and through the test. And if you are, then you'll come out on the end okay. Because what happens with Job? All this stuff happens and God says what he says and basically cusses him out. And then Job, repents and bows down. I'm sorry, Lord, and this and that, and you're right, or whatever. And then what happens in the end, God basically, new wife, new kids, new money and cattle or what have you. He gets everything back basically. So Job is one of those things where, when you understand how the Bible is structured, you can read it and understand exactly the reverse psychology bullshit they're trying to pull off. Because by this point in the Bible, if you're reading, you're not looking at God the same. There's no way you're looking at this and saying that this God is saying something is wrong with this dude. Something is wrong with these Hebrews. They're crazy. Something is not right. So this will be one of the things that the preacher would skip to this story of Job. Because if you don't put the story of Job in order, in context to everything that's happening as far as understanding it, it's just the poetry portion of the Bible. And in this, it's poetry, it's songs, which we're going to get into next with Psalms. And you will understand why it's there. And then looking at everything that came before as we have went through, why this is put here. You understand? So it's like the book of Job is not really, if you want to go through it and read it, you'll waste your time. It's other stuff in there that, we'll come back to in the New Testament. As I said, when we get to the New Testament, we'll be coming back to the Old Testament because there's a lot of things that we got to match up. But no point in getting into it now because it's not going to make sense until we go to the New Testament. And which is why we'll come back to these books. But it's basically Job. No real reason to get too much deeper into it because that's what it's about. It's reverse psychology. It's to get you to understand why bad shit happened. And, God is not there for you. He could be testing you. So stay faithful in prayer and stay faithful to him and everything can be rectified. So when stuff go bad in your life, what do people do? They go pray, but they also, frantically try to fix it. And then when they fix it, God's testing you. You see memes all the time. God is testing you. Be careful. God could be testing you. Your bad times could be God testing you. And then I don't know nobody that if you're struggling or you're going through something, you got to get up and go do something about it. Now, if you go get up and do something about it and it changes your situation, that's on your strength. You did that. No higher power did that for you. And why would God put you in that position anyway if you're supposedly living right by the Bible? So now the deeper book to get into is Psalms. And Psalms is deep, even though we're talking about poetry, songs, and prayers, 150 of them, by the way, which is why Psalms are so long.